Good morning, everybody. This is Keith with Spreadsheet Sports, coming to you on a much better morning than what we have experienced over the last couple days. I know I've gotten some messages from some of you guys, either on Twitter or through email, some personal messages. Wanting to know why I have not responded yet, what my take is on it, and I've told you to hang tight, and so this is going to be it. First, I want to address this. The reason why I had not just come out and started going ballistic like everybody else, and started really kind of throwing my opinion out there is two reasons. One, I am in this industry. I talk to a lot of the people that you could possibly that are in the know. I do this for a living. This industry is my life. Besides my wife and my future kid, whether a boy or a girl, I don't know yet. But this industry is something that I love and I'm very passionate about. It has allowed me to purchase a nice home, and it has also given me the ability that when my baby is born in May, that I can be a stay-at-home dad. And I don't have to that we can do things that I didn't think were possible through other jobs that are available around this town. So let me give you a little bit of reasoning why it's taken me so long. One, I wanted to see everything that happened. I wanted to see the site's response. I wanted to see exactly where it went and how bad it spun out of control. I don't really know if that was a good thing to do, but in order to keep me from speaking more emotionally instead of thoughtfully, then it was what I felt I needed to do. This business provides for me and my family, so I don't necessarily have to toe the company line per se, but I'm not going to burn bridges and go off and attack people like a lot of people have done, like has been done towards me. I've gotten personal messages from people that I know around town that know what I do for a living, asking me how I could be associated with such a scam, how I could still want to do what I do because of the insider trading, which I'll address here in a little bit, and everything else. First off, to those people that attacked me, bye. Unfollow me on Twitter. Don't talk to me because I don't care anymore. There's no reason, because of the industry that somebody's in, to attack somebody or their well-being or their livelihood. I think that's something that a lot of people have forgotten about all this. There are lives that are starting to, and incomes that are going to start being affected. And I know some people are probably saying, oh, wow, boo-hoo, you guys make a living playing fantasy sports. Yes, I do, because you know what? I'm good at it. I love it. It's something that I'm passionate about, and it allows me to do things that I wouldn't normally be able to do. And every single person out there that plays this game, if I told them they could switch positions with me and do this for a living rather than doing what they're doing, I would venture to say about 75 to 80% of them would. It is not something that I thought I would be doing 2 years ago, but it's something that kind of fell into my lap and opened up, and I love it. And I don't really want to see it go away. I'll address some other issues here in a little bit, but let me get this part out. I didn't respond to a lot of the criticism, the attacks that I got personally on Twitter. I did respond to a couple, but it was in a, I don't want to say thoughtful again, but it was in a controlled way. I did not attack them personally back. I did not insult them. I left a lot of my comments generally about the situation and my thoughts in short, quick blurbs. If you go back through my timeline, you can see some of the things that I did say, and a lot of it I will address right here. But you don't attack somebody because of that. I put a statement out on my Facebook after it got to the point where my wife was getting messages about it, and it really just shouldn't have got that far. And I basically said, if you have a question about anything, then please talk to me. Don't attack me. Here's the issues. I can deal with it, but don't do it in an insulting way. If you want to have a constructive conversation, I'm down. I really am. But if you want to attack and say that, and not just me, but attack the industry as a whole, attack the people that are involved or other issues, then we probably can't have a decent conversation about this, because I wear my heart on my sleeve. That's why it's taken me so long to actually respond. And I can't, just so I separate it, I won't. If you're going to attack things instead of criticize and throw out things and have a conversation, then we can't talk about that. So that's my only stipulation. If you want to have a constructive criticism, I'm game after this. But it took me a while because I didn't want to just jump out and start going nuts and speak more emotionally in anger than now in thought. So, okay. So there's that little rant. Let me talk about everything that's gone on in case you guys don't know or haven't heard exactly the parameters. I know what ESPN says, and I know what the Times has said, and I know what DFS Legal Report and CNN, and you name it, DFS has been drugged through the mud the last 4 days. The crazy thing about it is this has been going on now for a week and 11 days in this industry. Now, there are a lot of different things that are about to be an issue here. The biggest thing is I do not believe that Ethan had this information before lineup locks. I do not believe that he's ever had this information and used it to his advantage. I don't personally know Ethan, but I do know people that do know Ethan. That sounds really weird, and they vouch for him, and so I am trusting them. Okay. So is it a personal relationship? No, we've interacted on Twitter, and he seems like a good guy, but I'm going off of the word of what some people that do personally and have interacted with him a lot more know about him, and they don't believe it either. What ended up happening was not this past weekend, but during week 3, he basically released the ownership percentages of the DraftKings Millie Maker on DK Playbook, and he meant to just do it for just the 1 o'clock players, and he ended up doing it for everybody, which raised a lot of red flags, obviously, and was basically saying, how does he have this information since DraftKings is a late swap site, you shouldn't have this information because now, there's no telling who has it and people can use it to their advantage. Yes, I agree. 100% wholeheartedly. Until lineups are locked, nobody except for IT guys should have had that information. Okay? I'm going to get that out right now. Nobody should have had that until after all lineups were locked. If you want to get the ownership percentages of the 1 o'clock players, that's great. But even as a mid-level content manager, which is what Ethan is, he should not have had it. If he did, it was a mistake to put it out there. He didn't do it on purpose, obviously. Now, he received this information after the 1 p.m. lock on FanDuel. Now, the big thing that the media is running with is the fact that he possibly had this information before lineups locked on FanDuel that week, and that he used that information to win $350,000 in their Sunday Million over there. I've watched Ethan play now for a year, just over a year, and he's a very good baseball player. I've seen him do very well in basketball as well, and I've seen him do very well in football. Ethan knows how to play DFS. Okay, he knows exactly what to do and how to do it. Can the information, if it was released before lineups are locked, be used to gain an advantage? Absolutely. Not disagreeing with that whatsoever. But with that said, guess what? I pay for it every single Thursday. I throw in entries on FanDuel on Thursday contests to get ownership percentages so I know where the field is, because it doesn't change that much from site to site or from Thursday to Sunday. It might go up a little bit because you don't have the Thursday and Sunday games to actually choose from, but they're generally around the same. I use that information to know how to attack GPPs, to know where the field is, to know if the chatter that is going on throughout the week is being heard by just the industry or by the mass public. Okay? So the fact that he knows ownership percentages exactly, guess what? That's what we do throughout the week. We are very, very good about getting very close to what they are. How many times in my article have I told you that that this player XYZ is going to be extremely low owned, and he turns out to be? A lot. How many times have I told you that he's going to be extremely low owned and he hasn't been? That's happened too. But generally, I know, maybe not to the exact number, but I can guess if it's going to be under 5, under 7, under 10, and just by what I hear and things that go on. And it just comes from experience. So that's the first issue. There is no insider trading. Insider trading is knowing the result of the information that you have before it happens and you react because of it. That's not insider trading. I shouldn't be shocked, but I'm pretty disappointed in the media because of the way they've run with this. They've made it sound like Ethan cheated. They've made it sound like we are that it's impossible to win. They made it sound like this is all a scam. The way they've made the industry sound has been extremely worse than I've ever even thought it could have been. Obviously, it could get a lot worse if something bigger were to happen, but I don't think it's going to get there. And I'll get to that here in a second. But I've seen some comments on Twitter. I've seen comments on. I mean, you have people that have less than 30 tweets that have never played DFS, that have no affiliation with DFS, commenting on DFS to DFS players. And I'm not just talking about me. I'm talking about bigger guys. I'm talking about guys that are playing 5 figures in entry fees on Sundays. You know, I'm talking about guys that are, 5 to 8 time, live finalists. If we're known on Twitter as a DFS person, we've been attacked by. I can promise you, a lot of us have been attacked, and it's I've never. And some of us worse than others. Thankfully, I haven't gotten what some of the other well-known people in this industry have, but which is sad. But it's astonishing to me because now there's this stigma. Now it's scam kings and that DraftKings is sharing insider information with people over at FanDuel, and FanDuel is sharing insight, and then you hear the report about how DraftKings employees have won, $6 million over at FanDuel in the last 2 years. Well, yeah, they probably have won over $6 million in the last 2 years. But how much of that is profit? I could tell you I've won over $150,000 this year. I've only grossed about 110 or netted, which I forget which one is the, after entry fees. I mean, it's, who cares how much they've won? We needed people in this industry playing at these sites in order to know what was going on, to know the feedback of it. Now, we have gotten to the point to where we can't do that anymore. We are too big and we have grown. I don't think that we've grown too fast. Maybe just a little bit. It has gotten pretty big pretty quickly. But I think why we're getting a lot of this attention, because if we go back 12 months ago, 18 months ago, and this happens, it's not in the New York Times. It's not on ESPN. It's not anywhere. This is in our little niche, and we squash it, we deal with it, and we move on, and we make ourselves better because of it. Now we don't have that luxury. With the media blitz that we have thrown out there, we now have, it has now become to the point to where we cannot screw up. We have a lot of issues that we have to deal with, and they're going to get dealt with, and they're going to be brought up on the forefront, whether we liked it or not. So to get back to my point, sorry, it is not insider trading, and I do not believe Ethan has had this forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. I don't think he's also had information like this all the time. Now, people would say, well, how come he cashed? He went on a heater in August and cashed 20 out of 32 days. Okay, but he didn't win all of those GPPs. He went on a heater. I've done it. I'm sure you've done it. If you haven't, it's coming. If you keep playing, you keep chugging, it's coming. You'll go on 2 to 3 weeks where you just feel like you can't make the wrong decision. It happens. It just happened to happen for him at a higher level on a different site than what he was working on. Thank God it happened on a different site, not the one he was working on. That'd have been crazy. In baseball, there is no insider information. You know, you can't look at, because lineups change throughout the day. You can't look at a lineup or get information and have accurate information about the own percentages. It can change. It can change with one inactive. One person drops in the batting order 3 spots because he's facing a guy that he hasn't usually hit, but you know he's the best option they got. There's a number of different reasons. I just don't see the basis behind those accusations. You know, DFS is not guaranteed. I'll have the ownership percentages of people tonight because I pay for it. But guess what? It's not going to guarantee me to win the Millionaire Maker on DraftKings on Sunday. I wish it did. If it did, I'll gladly. I mean, yeah, cool. But it's not. Ownership percentage is only a piece of the puzzle. And I don't care if I have the exact number or if I have a roundabout number, as long as I have an idea. Most of us were dead wrong on Devontae Freeman a couple weeks ago when he came out. I honestly, once they said that Tevin Coleman was hurt, I thought he was going to be 30% owned because he was so cheap. He was 8. And if you didn't have him in your lineup, you didn't cash a lot. Well, both weeks, but mainly the first week. It's one of those things. It's not insider trading. I'll be the first to admit if it comes out and he did it and he's done everything that some well-known, credible people have put their name out there to defend him, then I'll stand up right behind him and say, you know what, I was wrong. I was naive and I was wrong. But I don't think that's going to happen. So that's my take on the Ethan thing. Now, I urge you to not believe everything that you're hearing in the New York Times, who have still yet to retract their original article because it was 100% dead wrong. Everything about it was wrong. I don't expect a retraction from Deadspin because Deadspin's a trash news site. I don't expect a lot. I don't expect anything, honestly. But as somebody that plays this game, I urge you to ask before you believe something. If I don't know the answer, I can find the answer very quickly for you. Okay. I am not going to hide anything from you. If I mean, I think I've given some of you guys my best advice in the middle of baseball season. Some of you guys have emailed me saying that you've absolutely just mashed your bankroll. And so I'm not going to, if I get my reputation out there that I'm a BSer and I'm just going to throw out advice and not follow my own advice, I give you the same plays that I play every single week, every single day during baseball, and I'll do it during basketball and I'll do it during football. I give you the same plays. Now, not all of them might be in the same lineup, but I have multiple lineups across multiple sites, across multiple contests. Okay. So I basically say, here are the pieces to the puzzle, put the puzzle together, and here you go. It is up to you for game selection and to figure out the pieces. And if you want to add your own pieces as well, then by all means, that's your right. Go right on ahead. And if you win with one of your pieces and not one of mine, congratulations. I applaud you because you've done your own research. But I'm not going to sugarcoat this for you. I can't. It's not fair to you. It's not fair to my bosses at Spreadsheet Sports. It's not fair to Brian. It's not fair to myself or my wife to sugarcoat it and act like everything is hunky-dory. Because I'll be honest with you, 2 days ago, I didn't know. Because nobody was talking at the sites. And we had no idea. And people were coming at us hard. I mean, the guy on ESPN yesterday on Outside the Lines made an absolute complete fool of himself, the attorney, because with the way he was going at Jason Robbins. And Jason Robbins basically put him in his place. And I tweeted at him, I applauded him, and it was great to hear from him. That is one thing that was making me a little bit sick to my stomach, was the fact that the leaders of our two biggest sites had not said anything at all. So it is extremely satisfying, gratifying, whatever. It is extremely nice to know that, and I knew they were going to address it. It just was, how were they going to address it? Because if it was just putting out another statement like they did with the terms of service, I was going to be pissed. It was nice to see Jason out there on the main platforms, not necessarily taking his lump, but defending not only myself, not only this industry, but Ethan in general. And when Bob Lee asked him yesterday, is he still employed? Jason basically said yes, and he will continue to be employed unless we find something in the investigation. And that investigation is going to be done by the attorney or by independent third-party auditing systems. There are law firms up in the Northeast region. The Attorney General of Massachusetts is getting in there. The Attorney General of New York City is getting in there. They want to do a bunch of internal investigations. And as long as the sites are clean, then I think the third-party auditing is about as far as we're going to go. it's nice to know that they're taking that step. I hope that the sites are as clean as they say they are, because if not, then that's where government regulation is going to start coming into play. People think that it's going to come anyways, and I don't think it's going to come if the sites are clean. As long as there's not huge skeletons in the closet, and they will have to report it, because the media is not going to go away on this. ESPN is going to want to know, because ESPN's in partner with DraftKings because of all the advertising and everything. And as long as if you're listening to this right now, Matt Hasselbeck is starting tonight. No Andrew Luck. That just came out literally 3 seconds ago. I just saw that. So, just throwing that out there. Sorry. Anyways, if the sites are as clean as they say they are, then I think that the third-party auditing system will suffice for a little while, to where we can get put our own regulations in place. I put out there yesterday the response for DraftKings and FanDuel, and they are no longer allowing players to play on their sites that are employed at DFS, at other DFS sites. Doesn't matter if it's FanDuel and DraftKings or Fantasy Aces or Fantasy Hub or Draft Pod or who. It does not matter at all. If you are employed by a DFS site, basically, or if you want to play DFS, then you're going to have to leave that position. And we've already seen a couple do it. I've already seen, I know one guy that I met at the FanDuel Basketball Championship last May. He's left his position because honestly, and you got to understand, they're not good players because they work at sites. They work at sites because they're good players. A lot of us have gotten to where we've gotten to because we are good players. We've had to prove we're good players in order to get the credibility. If I'd never played FanDuel or DraftKings, or if you guys didn't know that I had at least been to a live final and that I was being productive, you probably wouldn't take a lot of credibility in my picks. We could bounce ideas off of each other, but it maybe like a toddler, would be one in one ear and out the other. I don't know. So that was the response by FanDuel and DraftKings, and I think it's good. We're to that point to where we can't have that anymore. We are going to need to find other ways to get the feedback about the sites, and they're going to rely on a lot of us. So I know that makes a lot of people happy. I've gotten a question about what is considered an employee, and I've actually had that same question myself. Basically, an employee of a DFS site is I've found out is anybody that is in-house in the headquarters or gets a direct check for employment of DraftKings, not for sponsorships, not for advertising, not anything like that. DK pros are not considered their employees. They are contractors. Content sites are still going to be allowed to play, which obviously is a good thing because you wouldn't take advice from somebody that didn't play. I wouldn't. So DK Pros, I could see that going away very quickly, just for the image purpose of it. Because public perception right now, unfortunately, is reality. And as awesome as Dink and Peter are, um, it's probably DraftKings is probably going to. I would see DraftKings nixing those titles, um, but who knows? We'll see. My response basically is this: is be quick to listen, be slow to speak, and don't judge, because there's a lot of stuff that's going on that even I don't know about, probably, or behind the scenes. I know there is, but don't attack anybody. The only way this game is going to stay around, and the way that and don't get me wrong, there are tons of improvements that could be made. I am not in any way, shape, or form. I am not saying that this game is perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but it is something that I love, and it is something that provides, and I think it is going to be a fantastic industry for years to come. But it is no longer going to be the Wild West. And whether that becomes, I honestly, I hope it doesn't become government regulation. But if that becomes third-party regulation, then fine. I'm good with it. But we are going to be better because of this. And if we don't want to give the media any extra ammunition, then we have got to stop attacking each other about it. And I'm not here to sing Kumbaya and let's all get around the campfire and hold hands and say peace, love, and do all that. I'm not here to say that. But what I am saying is that I don't want to see something that, whether you enjoy doing it for a hobby on the weekends to escape your life, or you do it, or you're like me and you want to make a living out of it, if you don't want to see it go away, as an industry, we have to stop giving the media ammunition, because that's a lot of what we're doing. Not everything that goes on in this business is shady. A lot of it is on the up and up. Yes, we don't know a lot of the information, but that's because we're players. Okay? We don't know about the algorithm. We can guess and speculate all we want, but we're players. Let the sites do the sites. Just keep playing if you want. If you don't want, then you can withdraw and go, and all power to you. Okay? But keep playing if you want to keep playing. This was never a credit card issue. This was never a security breach for vital information that ended up costing people money in their bankroll or anything like that. This was a mistake made by an employee because he had information or he had access to information that we didn't know he had access to. And it's not the fact that he got it. It's the fact of who else has access to that. Okay? It's just one of those things. So this is the 40-minute mark. That's my rant. You wanted to know. I could probably go on about this for another hour, but I'm not going to do that. You guys have got work to do. I've got work to do. We've got NFL games tonight. Got a lot of work to get done. So I put my response out there. feel free, guys, to leave comments, questions. I will do whatever I possibly can to make sure that I interact in a timely fashion. And if you have questions that you haven't heard throughout the industry, or you would like my opinion on it, then feel free to ask, please. So, guys, for Spreadsheet Sports and for the DFS industry, this is Boomersdaddy. Have a great day.